Here's why you should stop doing really shitty shrugs to improve your trap game. I'm gonna provide you 4 different ways to grow your traps that are not gonna involve shrugs and are actually gonna put lots of meat and slabs of muscle up here so you can make that neck disappear. Let's get to it. Hey there, Brandon Splay here from Thirst Gym, and there's nothing that drives me more crazy than going into a gym and watching people doing half-ass shrugs, just taking the weight and barely moving it up and down. While I'm not a hater against shrugs, I do think they are a good trap exercise when performed correctly, but I'm not gonna talk about that because I'm gonna provide you other exercises that I think can also give you similar trap growth, but also give you overall total back development as well, and really maximize the time and effort that you're getting to not only have big traps and make that neck disappear, but optimize your training at the same time. Again, if you wanna do shrugs, that's entirely okay. I'm not gonna knock them, just make sure you're doing them correctly. But these exercises that I'm gonna show you are gonna change your trap game. Let's get to it. All right, the first exercise I'm gonna show you is going to be the battle rope kettlebell upright row. Now what you're gonna wanna do is take a battle rope, loop it through your kettlebell, and then you're gonna grab it so you've got a little bit of slack here. And what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna bend over and hinge just a little bit. So notice that I'm bent over here. This is going to actually let me pull the rope up towards my face and actually get a shrugging motion, but pulling my elbows apart as well is also gonna give me good scapular retraction. So my scapulas are gonna come together. So not only am I gonna build the traps up here by my neck, but I'm gonna build the big meaty traps in the middle of my back as well. So it's gonna get a much better full trap development other than just what's up here. You are gonna clearly still get the shrugging variation, but you're gonna get a much better full body integration here from this in terms of building your trap. So being slightly bent over, I'm now going to pull that kettlebell towards my face, pull my elbows up and out, and really squeeze my shoulders as I'm also shrugging up. Now I don't want to be too bent over because then it kind of becomes a row or a face pull. We want to make sure that I'm actually pulling up and towards my face as I'm doing that. Now, if you don't happen to have a battle rope, but you do have 2 kettlebells, you can do a similar thing, being bent over here. But again, we don't want to be bent over like a row, just hinge over a little bit and pull them up and out as I'm going to do that. And that's going to allow me to be in a similar position and get a similar benefit. The battle rope I like because we can actually pull it apart and keep tension the entire time. The kettlebells, we don't get that, but again, it still is a viable option if you don't have access to a battle rope. You can also try this with a cable variation. I don't like it quite as well. I do think that these are 2 superior options, but if you are in a pinch and don't have kettlebells, that also works as well. You could also do standard upright row variations if you really want to. I'm not too big of a fan of that myself. I think this is just a better overall trap developer myself. I really like doing these anywhere from 2 to 4 sets of 8 to 15 repetitions. Other nice thing about the battle rope is you also get some super strong forearms in the process, so give that one a shot. All right, the second thing I like to do to develop the traps is rowing variations, but intentionally keeping our elbows up as we go to do the rowing variation. So keep our hands in a pronated position, palms down, and then a rowing variation. The chest supported row is one of my favorite go-tos for this because we can be incredibly strict with the movement and really make sure we're feeling it in the right places. So with whatever chest supported row machine option that you have here, again, hands are down. And then as you go to do this, we want to bend over and then keep my elbows up high and actually pull up towards my upper chest or shoulder. Versus if I do a normal row, I'm usually pulling low. I actually want to pull up and high, similar to a face pull or like what we were doing with that upright row variation. But by keeping my elbows up high, again, I'm actually having to shrug a little bit to stay in that position, but then not also am I not shrugging, again, I'm getting that scapular retraction, and I'm able to load this up pretty heavy if you've got a good quality chest supported row machine. These you can push really heavy. I really like doing these for 3 to 4 sets of 6 to 10 reps. Vary your rep ranges around a little bit. Even if you want to do higher rep ranges, you certainly can, but this is an exercise you can really go stupid heavy on to really develop your traps. Now, another option you can do here is you can take your chest supported row machine, so if you have one like I do, or you can use a landmine and also doing Meadows rows. Again, this kind of falls into the same category, but it's a way that you can really load this up and cheat a little bit as well. So I do think this is where a little bit of body English can actually be okay, because we're actually gonna have to hold our shoulder into place, and we can actually heave that weight up, stop the weight in the bottom, and continue to go, and that's gonna cause quite a bit of stress to our upper traps. So we're just gonna hold on to the edge of the barbell, walk forward, bend over, support yourself with your hand on your knee here, keep that elbow up intentionally, and actually pull up and shrug at the same time. So you do want to intentionally shrug a little bit. You don't want to pull down here towards your belly button. Actually pull up and shrug here, and you can really load that weight up, and that's going to let you feel your traps the next day like none other. Named after John Meadows, who also had a super impressive pair of traps, but this exercise not only, again, develops your upper back, but your traps are really going to feel this. Based on the way John Meadows like to do these, I like to start any back day with Meadows rows, me myself, but you can really put them anywhere in your training program that works well for you. But just like our normal row variations, 3 to 4 sets, pretty heavy, 6 to 8 reps is kind of like a really good place to really load up on these. You can certainly go up to 10 or 12, but you usually start to find that you're really starting to get tired as you push those up really high, because you got to do both sides. So here I really like to just push them really hard and heavy for a couple sets, or build up to one really hard set. And then if you really want to go crazy to finish things off, you can try a drop set if you really want to challenge your balls, but this will definitely put some traps on you. All right, the third exercise I like to grow a wicked pair of traps are seated bent over rear delt raises with a shrug. Now, general rear delt raises here aren't a bad thing. I think they're gonna build a little bit of traps, but usually you're trying to focus more on the rear delt, which is still important for building that big back and that big, thick, juicy look. But if we add a shrug, so actually make this somewhat of a cheat-based movement, we're gonna target our traps more so than we would if we just did these really strict. So again, this is more after the trap development than it is after the rear delt development. So you're gonna actually have your feet together, you're gonna have your dumbbells by your side, and you're gonna bend over just a little bit. You don't have to be all the way bent over, just hinge over here. And now your normal rear delt raise would just bringing the dumbbells out here, okay? And while again said, again, this can build some traps. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually heave these up and actually pull our elbows back a little bit. So we're gonna go here, up. Really trying to, again, pull the dumbbells up and out, but also shrug at the same time. And I can already feel that blowing up my traps in that process of just doing those couple reps that I've done. Again, this is where you want to actually grab a relatively heavy pair of dumbbells, heavier than what you would do with your normal rear delt raises, and just continue to burn these out and chase a gnarly pump to where you feel like you can't do reps anymore. You intentionally want to cheat the exercise a little bit because we're trying to load those up, but you still want to make sure you can feel a squeeze at the top. You don't want to just feel, again, like you're doing half-ass reps. Still feel that squeeze. This is a great for like a finisher at the end of your training session. I would not start with this. Put this towards the end of your back day, or maybe your pressing day, or just upper body day in general. And you're gonna really wanna go 2 to 3 sets of pretty high reps here, 15 to 20 reps. Really chase that. If you feel like you got the nerve to even push them up to 25 or 30, go for it, especially on like your last set where you're really trying to have like an intensity technique. But this will also really help you feel your traps the next day and explode your trap growth. Let's talk about the last thing you can do. The last thing you need to do if you're wanting to build some pretty massive traps are loaded carries, and in particular, farmer's carries. If you go to look at any professional strongman, they have massive traps and massive upper backs, and what do? They carry heavy shit all the time. That's part of their events, that's part of their training. They carry those weird objects, and there's a reason why they've got huge traps. Yes, they also do deadlifts and things like that, but I assure you they're probably not doing shrugs to get their trap development. They're doing heavy loaded carries. And the nice thing about this is, one, when you do your heavy loaded carries, the range of motion is generally considered a partial compared to your normal deadlifts. So that's gonna immediately let you pick more weight. But also, once you pick it that one time, you just have to walk heavy with that weight and hold it in position. And that heavy weight pulling down on your shoulder girdle is naturally gonna have to focus on you to actually shrugging a little bit, otherwise it's gonna yank your shoulders out of your shoulder socket, right? So holding that static position as we're walking is going to build that yoke up, and it's gonna create a lot of stress on there. Now, I understand that you're not shrugging, but even just walking back and forth, you can see how my ribs are moving side to side. And stabilizing that shoulder girdle is actually going to help build as massive traps because of the amount of load that we're having to support on it. So grab a heavy pair of dumbbells, kettlebells, farmer handles, whatever you have, and make sure you're doing some kind of loaded carry variation in your weekly training if trap growth is of importance. You also want to make sure you vary your distances here. So you want to have times where you do heavy runs and carries to where maybe you're only going about 15 to 20 yards at the absolute most. And then you can have it to where you're actually shooting for maybe 30 to 40 to 50 yards to where you're doing it for longer duration. You can also use that as some conditioning component as well and really get a good bang for your buck. And then there's also the added benefit of getting big, strong hands and strong grip from this as well. So again, if you're doing this for the heavier side, if you're a strong man or you like that kind of style of training, put that at the front end. But otherwise, you can put it usually towards the end of your training program once you've done the rest of your training, and then you can use this again as that conditioning, trunk abdominal work, and also finish your traps off for the end of the day. So there you have it. There are my top ways to build your traps and make that neck disappear. Again, I want to make sure I'm clear here. Doing shrugs is entirely okay, especially if trap growth is important. So you just want to make sure you're doing high quality shrugs and not the short changey reps that you probably see in your commercial gym. These exercises also are just going to develop your back, your grip, your conditioning, and also give you other high quality training benefits outside of just having that shrug motion. The traps cover a big portion of the back, and so by using these exercises I've showed you, you're going to get full maximal trap growth from head all the way to your mid back, and you're probably going to see all your other lifts benefit as well. If you happen to like today's video and you took one awesome thing away, I'd really appreciate if you hit that like button, subscribe, share with a friend, and I'll see you at the next video.